Welcome to the Home Healthcare Today show. I am your host, Dr. Clemon Moore. Please welcome my guest, Tim Walton, to the Home Healthcare Today show. Hey, Tim, welcome.
Man, thank you. Man, excited to be here.
Okay.
Excited to be here, Doc.
Dr. Michael Lutz, welcome to the Home Healthcare Today show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You went from Reverend Bishop Borges to Ball State, then to our own Detroit Lions. And when the playing days ended, you didn't leave, man. You stayed and you built something. What kept you rooted right here in Detroit? And when did you realize that the next chapter of your journey would consist of service?
You know, one of the things that actually kept me here was my father. He was a single parent.
Yes,
He raised 3 kids. My brother, who's now passed away, and my sister. And he did it by himself. And it was a struggle for him.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to leave him, but obviously, you know, I wanted to branch off, but then, as God had it happen, I met my wife. So when I met her, we had three kids, and we decided, you know what? Well, she decided that we ain't going nowhere.
All right now.
I stayed here, you know, in the city of Detroit. Man, it's just, and it was closer to my father. You know, he's 90. He just turned 90 last month. So,
wow, man.
So that was my main reason.
Wow. Well, hey, man, happy Father's Day to the 90-year-old dad, and happy Father's Day to you too, brother. Yes, this is good stuff. So NFLPA, Detroit chapter, you've been leading it for over a decade. For people who may not know, what does the chapter actually do? And how do retired NFL players come together to serve our community?
So now I was just also voted to the board of directors, and each board has 3 or 4 different chapter presidents. And so while I was president this last term, I was also one of the board of directors. And so that's all of the presidents voting. And so I was blessed enough to be voted as one of those board members, a seat of 8 of us. But one thing happens is you have to have that in you, just like in football. And so they give us a list of who's in the city.
Right.
And we try to find out, hey, listen, we have about 4 meetings a year. We try to spread them out quarterly. And you just try to, you know, encourage fellas, because, listen, a lot of us leave that game, and some of us don't leave it. Myself personally, don't leave it on our own accord. You know, we have to find a word for, instead of getting cut, released. It feels better, right?
Yes,
So,
it does.
and once you get released from a team, most of us have been playing that game for 20 years from Pee Wee football, and that's all we know.
Right.
And so, I personally just felt like, man, listen, I was going to be responsible for making sure that I connected with every former player in our city to make sure that they're aware of their benefits. Absolutely. And what's out there for them. Because a lot of us, this might sound crazy, but once you get released from a team that you're not ready to get released from, it's like a bad divorce. Sure. You got to get over it. Yeah. You don't want to watch it for a while. You're mad at the game. Yeah. You're mad at that team. Yeah. Yep. You know, like, why y'all cut me like that? Right. You don't hear the fans screaming no more. Now you just gotta, it's real life. Right. And see, we haven't been real life for so many years. Think about it, from high school to college, especially now with this NIL. You know, listen, we are out there, man, and it's all about the glory, the fans, man. We excited.
Exactly.
And so a lot of us, we don't know how to accept that when that's all gone.
Sure.
When that crowd ain't screaming your name no more.
I get it.
What do you do next?
Absolutely.
A lot of us don't finish school and don't graduate. Yeah. And so that's why you get some of them to go into the fast money, you know, because that's a blessing. But we don't understand and realize. And so my whole goal, Doc, is to make sure that no matter how many years you played, there's something out there for you.
Amen.
And that's what I've just commissioned myself to be that person.
And Tim, that's what, you know, I honor and appreciate and respect that about you. And I think it's a message for a lot of our viewers, you know, because you have folks that either are laid off from a job, you know, or right size from a company, you know, and some of our older viewers who have, you know, long retired, they've had some ups and downs in their career, and it may feel a certain type of way about some of the organizations that they work for. But redirecting the energy the way that you have to service is highly commendable. And you still have an audience of folks rooting for you. You know, when you go into schools and you guys are talking to kids and you're doing backpack drives, you know, and you go out Thanksgiving and you're serving food in the soup kitchen. It's like you just took one lane, one playing field, converted to another where the need is so great. So that's commendable, man. Yes, sir. A lot of chapters in the country, but the Detroit chapter, 2024 and 2025, back-to-back chapter of the year.
Yes, sir.
Man, what makes the Detroit chapter so sweet?
Listen, I tell you, we got guys, man, that are really committed, Doc.
Yeah.
I mean, guys like, and guys that have much bigger names than myself.
True.
You know, I got Lomas
Yep.
is heavily involved, Calvin Johnson, you know, Eddie Murray, Eric Hippo, George Jameson.
Yes, sir.
I mean, hell, I don't know if you guys know, I call him Ronald McDonald because he's got, Jim Thrower has 30 or 40 McDonald's that he owns.
Yes, sir.
All these guys are still very much involved.
Yeah.
And it's easy when you have these guys that are committed.
Yeah.
Luther Bradley,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that just want to serve.
Yeah.
And that makes it easy for me.
Absolutely.
Now they robbed us because we should have been 3-peat. I was going for the 3-peat.
Okay, now.
But the Tampa
Okay.
chapter, they put us down. Even Maurice Harvey. I can keep on going, but these
Yes,
guys are so committed, Doc,
Yep.
that wherever I need them, they
Yep.
come.
That's right. That's right.
And I love that about them.
Yes, sir.
It's that spirit about them, man.
Yes, sir. Champions, man, and holding it up and showing up for the community, man, which is so applaudable. You mentioned a lot of names. If we start dropping names, then
I get in trouble.
it'd be some big guys looking for me, like, why you ain't say my name? Like, come on. He said Lomas. He called you out Lomas. And you got the homie Herman Moore and so many guys, man, in the community doing great work. Now, as for you, one of the greatest of greats, let's look at that Lifetime Achievement Award that you earned from Howard University. Man, what does that mean to you? And what were you thinking about whenever you received that?
Man, that was something that it was an award that was given to most of the board members at the time. I was on the National Advisory Board for NFL Players Association,
Yes,
and it was about 8 of us that had received that award, even along with Doug Williams. He was also one of those recipients.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I gave that award, man, to my chapter because had it not been for those guys showing up, the youth camps, right? Serving the meals, giving out blankets to these guys giving out turkeys to those who are less fortunate. These guys, man, it was like, hey, man, I picked the phone up and they're there.
Come on.
And so it was like, hey, when they were looking for candidates, man, and then, you know, it didn't help that we was back-to-back chapter of the year, right? So
that's right.
it was, man, that award to me, man, was something that I had my whole family down. It was something that I would never forget. It was a blessing for me, man, and I was excited about it. But I was honoring our chapter and just gracious that remembering my father, you know, because he instilled all this in me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. It's June, and this will be a very special episode to start the month of June. We're thinking about the college graduates, the high school graduates, the trade school graduates, those completers out there. And I want to give them a special message because I understand that it's a very difficult job market and there's a lot of anxiety and some concerns out there about, hey, did I pick the right major? Am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? I recently gave a TED Talk focused on the topic of how your major does not necessarily determine your future. Let's watch that TED Talk and then we'll come back with Q&A following that TED Talk. See you shortly. All right. How many of us remember being asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Show of hands. All right. How many did not know the answer? A show of both hands. All right. So, similar to most of you, when I was 17 years old, I was asked that same question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Not what do you want to become, right? So, a guidance counselor, when I was 17, sat me down in high school and said, Clem, you got to figure this out. Pick a lane, pick a major, stay in it. All right. So I did that. I went off to university and I became an information scientist. But then life happened, like life happens for everyone, right? No one told me what no one is telling others, that most of our majors are really minor. There are millions of students that are sitting in high school classrooms, undergraduate classrooms around the world wondering, what will I become? So, as these students think about what they're going to become, there's something else we're not telling them. We're not telling them that they may change their jobs 12 to 15 times within a career. We're not telling them that in many cases, the World Economic Forum lets us know that your core job skills, they're going to change over the course of the next few years. McKinsey has told us that 375 million workers, their jobs, the work that they do is certainly going to change. So the paradigm has changed. It has certainly shifted. But what are we still doing? We're preparing students from Michigan to Mumbai, from Toledo to Thailand, from Flint to Frankfurt to prepare for a job, pick a major, stay in that job, and maybe one day you'll retire after 35 to 40 years from that company and get that gold watch, that 401k, or if you're really lucky, a Winnebago. That world is gone, and the most urgent, necessary, life-changing question, I don't know if we're all brave enough to build a new road, a new path for individuals. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about my mom. My late mother held multiple roles. I didn't know she was a CFIO, which is a Chief Fix-It Officer. I had no idea when she was driving me around as a youngster to various clinic appointments because, I had asthma and I had allergies, and I also had some vision issues growing up. So whether she was taking me to a pulmonologist appointment for my asthma, or whether she was taking me for my biweekly allergy shots, or even to an eye doctor, she was preparing me to think about and versus or. It's not as though she was split between multiple identities or having an identity crisis. She knew that she needed to be a mother and a wife. She realized that she was also a business owner, along with my dad, in a body shop called C&M Collision. I never knew what the ampersand was. I thought C was like dad, Clem, and M was mom, Clem and mom, running the shop. My mom was also a grant writer. She wrote a grant application to an organization that paid for the removal of my cataracts because I was born with congenital cataracts. She promised me that she would do all that she could to help me get through school if she could find someone to pick up that surgery. In turn, I promised her I would pay it forward. All right, so paying it forward for me today means I drive around Detroit and other parts of the state delivering vision in a mobile eye care unit. Because guess what? The folks who have vision health issues in many cases have been told to choose or. Walk into a clinic, get transportation to a clinic if you lack transportation, or go without access to vision. These individuals did not choose to have the inability to access vision, but we chose to close that gap. That's what full circle looks like. So students ask me, like, Dr. Moore, what is your gig? Like, dude, what do you do, right? So, simply put, I do a lot, right? But I do a lot because it's not and. The definition is simple. I'm an information scientist and a healthcare CEO and a professor of entrepreneurship and an entrepreneur in residence and a television show host every Saturday morning. A best-selling author, an AI inventor, a husband, and a father. And nearing the age of 50, I'm a registered nursing student. Now, it's not about me, it's about each of you. And it's about the millions of students that are out there struggling to try to develop their identity or answer the singular question, what will I be whenever I grow up? So there's this myth tied to or. Let's just go there, right? Pepsi or Coke, Monster or Red Bull, or Celsius. Don't do and with any of those three. Vegan or vegetarian. Walk or run. The myth of or also ties into our careers. Are you going to be an engineer or an entrepreneur, a doctor or a teacher? The truth of and, you do not have to choose. Just keep becoming. Historically, Leonardo da Vinci. Hey, I'm going to develop a helicopter, if you're Leonardo da Vinci, and a parachute. Right. Now, that's some proactive thinking, just in case this thing goes down. I got a plan. Da Vinci, a painter and an engineer, an anatomist and an inventor. All right. How about Benjamin Franklin, right? Printer and a diplomat and a scientist, a founding father. And what I have on today, the creator of bifocals. All right. Mae Jemison, another example, right? A doctor and an engineer, a dancer and an astronaut. They did not pick lanes like my mom didn't pick lanes. They built roads. All right. Adam Grant, a Wharton professor and organizational psychologist, spends a lot of time talking about the most interesting people. The most interesting people don't just stay in one particular lane. They think about things deeply, deeply enough to have the courage to change lanes. They connect the most distant dots. But oftentimes in the academy, whether it's vocational school or higher education, we teach students to specialize. The academy rewards depth, which is vertical, as opposed to breadth. But the world that we live in and the world that we are creating rewards integration. Who are the polymaths? Polymaths are the individuals that live at the intersection, that understand that their major may just define them or contain them. The antithesis to the misnomer that a jack of all trades is a master of none, I challenge that. The master of only one is oftentimes confined and defined by that. All right, so I got some questions to ask you, right? As you think about the journey, and you think about even Albert Einstein, right? Where Albert Einstein pointed to the illusion that our greatest power is the ability to change, like change our minds and change directions, right? As you think about Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, and Apple still being one of the most valuable tech companies in the world, combine calligraphy and music. Think about the questions. What skills do I need to build multiple careers? That's a paradigm shift for us. Those of us that are leaders in higher education, how can we prepare students to not only think about their electives, but to elect to believe that the major is simply a minor? What relationships do I need to cultivate across industries? Because I can't do it alone. I'm going to need the help of others. How do you create something that Google can't search for or ChatGPT can't articulate? And what does reinvention look like for you as you go back and think about being age 17 to what and who you have become over time? vastly different than that 17-year-old. Another question, not what will I become, but how do I keep evolving? How do I stay courageous enough, curious enough, disciplined enough to do and to be more? Now, I'm not going to say that this is just a straight line path, and I'm not going to say that I always thought about being a polymath, and I'm not going to say that when we think about some of the most commonly used terms like be and to and of, those three words in the dictionary have greater popularity and use than the word and. I learned that when I struggled or whenever I actually failed. So I was in a pursuit of a vertical path to a college presidency that got derailed. Obviously and apparently, I have become more than a college president by being right? And in multiple respects. When a multi-million-dollar door closed in my face most recently, a couple of weeks ago, I decided to build something that same day. I didn't knock again, I didn't collapse, because like most of you, I realized that there had to be something bigger. There had to be something behind and beyond defeat and disappointment. Perhaps it was redirection. Because people who don't stand in the hallway waiting for the next opportunity build an entirely new room. The late W.E.B. Du Bois taught us, it's not what you will do, but it is who you will become doing it. My mom answered that question, right? A van today for me, a promise, a life fully unapologetic. And I'm still answering that question today. So what I want you to carry out of the room, it's not about the major. And for those that have already graduated years ago, you realize that perhaps that major was really minor. The most important work of your life will happen at the degrees and the intersection of your major. As you think about climate change is geopolitical, it's economic, it's social, and it's technological. As you think about providing access to healthcare for millions of individuals who do not have it, it's logistical and economic and medical and even spiritual for many. The second most powerful question goes back to that and. As long as you don't answer and with Red Bull and Celsius and Monster, you got the right answer. And thirdly, the world needs whole people building things that it has never seen. The future does not belong to a single major by design. It belongs to people who are brave enough to be whole. When you look at the state of men's health in America today, what concerns you the most?
Well, I think the best thing that I can say is that I think things are looking brighter in the sense that men in general are becoming more proactive about their health. It's definitely a generational change. And you can see that men in their 20s and 30s and even into their 40s are significantly more proactive about the importance of being healthy and leading healthier lifestyles. Yes. The problem we're dealing with is we have an excessive amount of men now, of the boomers that are now in their 60s and 70s and 80s, who are suffering significantly from many of the other illnesses over time and have not been as proactive. And because they have not taken much preventative care measures, we see a lot of increases in significant diseases at this point in time. But I believe, looking forward, that there will be a brighter future.
Absolutely, Doc. Well, very good. I support you in the belief, Doc. When we look at some of those stats that you noted, they're staggering. You know, men live 5 years less than women. Us as men, you know, many of us have heart attacks a decade earlier than women. And then, you know, suicide amongst men is higher. Why do you think men's health, why does our health outcomes lag those of women?
Well, we know that men are control the leading cause of death amongst the top 10 causes of death. They lead 9 of them. So, and when it comes to suicide and risky behaviors, we know that men have a much higher incidence. And we don't know the exact reason why men have a higher suicide rate or the difference in the types of suicide that men perform versus women. But we do know that men in general are not as proactive about their health and are seeming to have issues now in falling off as far as their
Mm,
success relative to women as far as
yes.
education and success in the job force. So we know that men are struggling to
Hmm.
find their place in
Yes.
society and to do well. And so we need to find ways to help bolster men in their need to succeed, and not only health wise, but also emotionally and functionally.
Absolutely, Doc. Yes, I thoroughly get it. I agree. I mean, when you talk about jobs and stress, and then the thought of, will I have enough when I retire? Will I be able to, live without working, or without working at full strength? We downplay some of those symptoms because we're out there trying to work so hard and get it in many cases, and we delay care. From your experience, Doc, what's behind that reluctance that we have to just go to the doctor's office? And then how do we change that for men?
I know that I've been asked this question a lot of times in a lot of different ways, but I really believe that the bottom line is that men are not just hesitant about getting health care. It's that it's not a priority.
Mm,
Their priorities are protecting their families, preserving their families, and doing everything they can for their family.
yes, sir.
And as a result, their health care is not a priority. And what they don't realize is that if they are not healthy, if they are not doing well, their family will suffer horribly. The statistics in a family when a husband gets ill or dies is that the children will not typically not graduate beyond the high school level.
Wow.
The incidence of drug abuse and alcohol addiction amongst the children is significantly higher. The incidence of suicide for their children is significantly higher. So the
Wow.
health of the male in the family is absolutely crucial to the health of the family. And so what I always talk about is that men's health is not a selfish thing about the men. It's really more about the health of the family. And our
Yes.
goal is to always to try and support men's health with the primary goal of saving the health of the family.